economies are cyclical. You can't always be in a bull economy where things are going great. So how do you recession-proof your business to make sure that your business, number one, doesn't go under? Number two, that you can weather the storm, basically, and recoup. And number three, still feel excited about your business at the end of the day.
Welcome to Thrive by Design, the podcast for ambitious, independent jewelry brands looking to profit from their products. Get ready to make more and sell more doing what you love without spending every single waking minute doing it. Hey, and if you're a creative, fashion, or product-based business, I want to welcome you to the show. I'll be dropping big tips on launching, growing, and scaling your business so you can spend more of your precious time using your creativity to make money. You ready? All right, let's do this.
Welcome to Thrive by Design, episode 210. It is Tracy Matthews here. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. And I'm excited to be here talking about recession-proofing your jewelry business, your fashion business, your accessories business, any kind of business, your creative business. Now, we're going to be speaking in terms of businesses with a physical product. And I typically speak about jewelry, but just because that is my company and what we do over at Flourish and Thrive Academy at the moment. But it was exciting because we just welcomed one of our first ceramic artists into our SOS coaching program, which was very exciting. Talking about recession-proofing your business is really close to my heart because if you've ever listened to my story, you know that my first business was taken out by the Great Recession of 2008. Call it the Great Recession because for a lot of time, I had a lot of shame that my business failed during that time. And now as we look back, I share my story and I'm interviewed all the time on other podcasts and other publications and whatever, because of the work that we're doing over here at Flourish and Thrive. And also because of the impact that, reinventing yourself can really have on entrepreneurship and all the things, you know what I'm saying? And during that time, looking back when, I'm talking to people, I've had a lot of shame about my business actually failing. And I was talking with a business coach a little while back, a friend of mine, and he was like, Tracy, why are you saying that your business failed? Like basically you were taken down. And I was like, okay, so that's my new reframe. Like my business was taken down. And sure, there were some things I could have done better back then to probably recession proof it and probably save the company. And that's the purpose of this episode. I did make a choice. I could have continued working hard for that company, but I realized that my fire and passion had switched gears and it was time to move on. So my goal here is that if you love what you do and you love being creative and you love putting a product or something out into the world that's founded in your passion, then the worst thing that could happen is that you're not getting sales or money coming in and you feel like a starving artist, right? That's the whole platform that I built Creatives Rule the World around. And if you haven't followed me over at creativesroletheworld.com on Instagram, I'd love to chat with you over there. It's at, just like it sounds, at Creatives Rule the World. You can also find me personally over at Tracy Matthews NY. Or if you're not following Flourish and Thrive, I might as well just give them all. Head on over to at Flourish_Thrive because on all three channels, I'm sharing different types of insight and fun stuff. You get to see some of my jewelry on my Tracy Matthews NY one too, which is cool. And I'm working on just limited projects right now. So I love it when I get to release some fun jewelry pieces. In fact, I'm designing like 7 pieces for someone right now. Just finished 4 of them, which is very exciting. So you can see the behind the scenes of this epic heirloom redesign project, which was great. So the reason why this episode came about, it's a topic I've been talking about for many, many months now, because I've been feeling a shift in how things are going. In New York City, if you're over here, you see that about 50% of the small boutiques and specialty stores are shut down. And, it's devastating to me to see because people love boutique shopping. And how do you get your products if you're small independent designers in front of people who love to boutique shop? Well, you have one choice pretty much. If your dream client is hanging out in a city like New York, and that's to get in front of them online, some way, shape, or form. So I was chatting with one of our students, someone in our community. Actually, it's a duo. And we were messaging on Facebook back and forth. And they sent me a message that said, Tracy, we need to talk before the end of June. And I was like, oh no, what's going on? So I wasn't able to actually get on the phone with them because they're in my inner circle. But they shared that a lot of things were going crazy because like a bunch of wholesale accounts were closing. They weren't getting paid for their orders. And I was like, oh, geez, it's starting. It's starting because this is exactly what happened right before the Great Recession of 2008. And this is not to freak anyone out, not to have a panic attack, but like all those empty brick and mortar spaces. I don't know if you're seeing it in your hometown or wherever you live, but it's a thing. And it happens because economies are cyclical. You can't always be in a bull economy where things are going great. We have to have these downturns to correct because we've had, a strong economy for a very long time. So how do you recession proof your business to make sure that your business, number one, doesn't go under? Number two, that you can weather the storm basically and recoup, especially if you are running credit card debt or have loans that you're paying, that you're financing your inventory with. And number three, still feel excited about your business at the end of the day, because when there's financial pressure, sometimes that really crushes our passion for the thing that we love so much. And these times are really great times to think outside of the box and also reinvent yourself and your brand. And so I don't want you to think that this episode is all doom and gloom. It is just some things that I should have really thought about when I was noticing these signs back in the end of 2007, early 2008, before September of 2008, when everything just like kaplooied. I can't even believe I just used the word kaplooey. I don't think I've ever used it before, but there you go. New words all the time. So this is not like anything to scare you and say, oh, I'm going to close my business and go get a regular job, because here's the thing, like the same thing's going to happen when we're in a weekend economy or we're having an economic correction. And I'm not an economist, so I don't know when and if this is coming or anything. I'm just feeling the foresights of it, that, there's typically layoffs too. So going to find like a stable job isn't necessarily going to be the answer either. It's really about protecting the assets you have, doing your best to continue to bring money into the business, reducing your expenses, and being smart about the way you're running your business. So I'm going to walk you through some of those things, but I think the most powerful thing that you can do is really train your customers to buy from you online. And here's the reason why. Is we know in this day and age, and I was just reading an article on LinkedIn the other day by one of my contemporaries who works with 7+ like high 7-figure companies, Elle Hill. I really like her. I met her at conference a couple times this year. I think she's super smart. She scaled her fine jewelry company. She's one of the first people to do that online. Quickly sold it. It was all based in like the specific technology that she was doing. And now she's doing some consulting for like Blue Nile and like these really big companies. And she posted in this article that in about 5 to 10 years, I think it was something like 5 to 10 years, 25% of all luxury items will be purchased online. And jewelry is considered a luxury item, guys, if you didn't know that. And many of you designing handbags and expensive clothing and those types of things as well, if you're listening to this podcast, and even other products, if you have luxury goods, like the luxury goods market is, thriving. It's like people aren't as afraid to spend money, as long as they're, they know that they can check it out and try it out and get their money back if it's not a right fit. They're more tempted to, take that plunge. And so if you can capitalize on this opportunity now, before it's even a bigger thing than it already is, then you will have a leg up. Because what we know is that if you're doing things right, the cream rises to the top, and people want to buy from the people that they love and the people that are doing it well. And so why not start now? Here's the thing. As I'm recording this, I'm actually in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. I'm down here for the 4th of July. I usually record episodes a little bit further in advance than this, but I was a little bit backed up and I was batching some content, and I wanted to make sure that I got this in for July because I do think it's really important. I don't think making sales online, as I just mentioned, is complicated. It's really about learning the right strategy and learning how to train people to buy from you. And the one thing I noticed with designers is that they overthink a lot of things instead of working on a system that can break it down bit by bit, piece by piece, implement it, at their own pace, keep it going. And because of that, because they get so overwhelmed, or maybe their website or their product's not in the right place yet, they just feel like it won't work for them. And then they want to give up. But I'm telling you, that this is not the wave of the future. This is the wave of today. It is what is going to be the norm moving forward. So if you don't figure this out and get this working for you, getting your customers to buy from you online, you're not consistently building your email list. You're not using the ideas and thought processes to actually like get them to buy. You're not creating email content that actually has strong CTAs and is moving people to that sale. You can't learn how to do this. And you're not attracting the right kind of customer that buys online, because this is another thing I see a lot, then you're going to be left in the dark. And so we just ran a 12-week intensive, and it was the first of its kind, called Train Your Customers to Buy From You Online. We learned a lot from that first batch of students. And I'm really excited to say that when the designers started implementing it, amazing things happened. In fact, Kim, within the first 2 weeks, even though she'd only implemented a portion of what we taught her, had doubled her sales. It was pretty incredible to watch that and actually hear that, because I feel like there is so much like upside to being able to do this right. Andrea said that before she started the intensive, she was averaging about 2 sales on her website a month. And in May, she had 13 sales. And in June so far, when she sent this little note into us, she had 20 sales. And she's only implemented a fraction of what she discovered and learned and was able to implement in this Train Your Customers to Buy From You Online intensive, that she's really excited to see where things go from here. And people like Tisa, who had really built their business on direct-to-consumer shows, like going in those events, really dove deep into this intensive. And at her last show, she got a bunch of people signing up for her email list. She's got her automation set up. And she hasn't even like her mind is so blown by everything. She's like revamping her website and it's rocking. And she said that the one thing that this workshop really did was change her mindset and her hope for the future of her business. And so we decided to run this again. We were only going to do this once, but we wanted to really be able to support you, because guess what? Holidays are coming up. And before you know it, it's going to be the shopping season. October's coming, November's coming, and we want to be able to get your website and you prepared for the holiday sales season so that you understand this is really an awesome opportunity for people who getting sales consistently already from other revenue streams, but they haven't really cracked that online code yet. And even if you're still trying to get to that consistent sales marker, this will work. But if you already have wholesale accounts and a direct to consumer model, and you're already making money in your business, this is just going to amplify everything that you're already doing. And I think that's why it was so powerful for Kim to back this up with a retail brick and mortar store. And this was so powerful for Tisa, who already had a successful direct to consumer business online, and so powerful for Andrea as well. So I want to invite you to apply to this. This is pretty awesome. If you want to head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/train my customers, their full details are over there with all the deliverables. But basically, this is really great for people who want to improve their overall business strategy so that when you take a vacation, nothing falls apart, which is exciting. I teach you how to do what I do. I take a lot of vacations. Trust me on that. This is going to set you to dramatically scale your profits online so that you no longer have to worry about cash flow. It's going to help get you ready to make real progress towards your goals and stop making excuses as to why your website, blog, and newsletter hasn't been updated or sent out or converting. We're committed to putting your best foot forward over the next 12 weeks so that you can at least 2x your sales online. And for everyone, that's going to be different. Like if you have if you're averaging 2 sales a month, obviously it's going to be easy to do 20 sales. And that's 10xing your sales. But if you're doing let's say 10 sales a month, we can easily get you to 20 sales, etc. So, results will definitely vary. If you're like Andrea, she's getting, 10 to 20x results on her original sales, which is pretty awesome. Anyway, if you're someone who's actually really serious about taking your business to new levels and not settling for good enough for another minute because you've seen it work for other designers and now it's your turn, one of the best coaches in this program is Chelsea Farmer of Horse Feathers Gifts. She is crushing it in her e-commerce business. Every day she texts me girl, I saw this on this person's website. Is it okay if I tell them that they're messing things up? And I was or that they need to make a change. And I'm yes, girl, yes, please help them, because she knows, because she is one of those people who has been adamant and on top of it and has scaled her business to over 7 figures, selling $50 to $150 product. It's pretty insane. The girl is like a genius. If you are ready to get tons of leads coming in and really start converting those leads into sales, and if you're committed to your success by implementing quickly and you're in it to win it, then I'd like to, invite you to apply because it's going to be awesome. Here's the thing. This is not really for people who say things to themselves like, this won't work for me, or you're not willing to implement quickly, or if you're going to be someone who really is just approaching your business like a hobby and you freeze under pressure, or you're someone who like, if you have a setback, you can't recover from it with working on mindset and moving things forward. This workshop is really for A players, those who, and it's okay. We're going to hold your hand along the way. Like, you don't have to 100% like know exactly what's going to happen. But I just want to encourage you that if this is something that's interesting to you, this is really for those people who want to be successful online. And it's not a magic pill. This is going to require tweaking. But what I do know is that if you implement and get this stuff in action, it does work. It's pretty fantastic. So I want to get into the episode because we have some good stuff for you today. But if you're interested in learning more about what's working now to train your customers to buy from you online, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/train my customers. And we'll also have this over in the show notes over at flourishthriveacademy.com/episode 210 and also on Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much for considering this because I'm really excited for this next round. And it works out to be perfect timing. This ends right before basically November. So you're going to be like fully prepared to have an epic holiday season. And I'm excited for you. And we get to like test things along the way to improve your fall as well. So let's dive into how to recession-proof your business. Now, I talked a little bit more about what it really takes, to recession-proof your business. And a lot of it really has to, I want to just remind you, I said this earlier, the cream rises to the top in recessions or even flat economic growth. And so it's important for you to continue thinking ahead and not resting on your laurels. And when I say the cream, these are people who are forward thinking. They are prepared for adversity. They are ready to do what it takes to save and recession-proof their business and stay ahead of the curve. Does that sound like you? Give me a heck yes. You can say it to yourself, put your arms up in the air and scream a heck yes. If you're listening to this somewhere where you can comment on it, write a heck yes in the comments below because that's how we roll over here. So the first piece of this, and I was kind of talking about this before when I was talking about the Train Your Customers 12-week intensive, is to diversify your revenue streams. The biggest mistake I made, and the thing that I saw these designers that I was talking about earlier in this episode who are really struggling, is they built their business around only wholesale. Wholesale is a great business model, but it's really hard to bank solely on wholesale in this day and age. You can build a trifecta brand in multiple ways. I think one of the ways that you must explore is to really have a robust e-commerce or online strategy. And here's the difference. An e-commerce strategy is for people who are selling product that's easy to sell online. It can be fine jewelry, but typically fine jewelry has a little bit of a higher touch. So typically serious e-commerce jewelry businesses are slightly lower price point. And the fine jewelry price point, things that are higher or custom jewelry, is really more about selling online. And here's the differentiation. I was on someone's website the other day. I can't remember what it was, but I was like checking it out and doing a review. And it had something like you could fill in the basket, but you had to email them for a quote. And so this is sort of like, this is going to require customer interaction, you speaking to the customer and making sure that you're answering all their questions. That is totally normal for fine jewelry. If you hope, you will get people checking things out of a shopping cart if you have it set up and you have ready to wear. But more than likely, if you're selling things over $1,000, you're probably going to have to talk to people from time to time, unless they already know your brand, which is the goal. We want to start building that 1,000 true fans that I talk about all the time. So diversifying your revenue streams, selling direct to consumer, either on your using your website as that tool, e-commerce or online, depending on the price point of your jewelry. Really, really important. I think wholesale is still a strong strategy, but you have to be aware, like if the smaller stores that you're selling to are starting to go out of business, just note that that's going to happen over and over again in ripple effect. The other thing about wholesale, when we hit economic struggles, especially if you're selling to bigger types of stores. I worked with a designer for years who had all of her eggs in an Anthropologie basket. And she did hundreds of thousands of dollars a year with Anthropologie. And over the last 4 to 5 years, that is completely gone. And she waited too long to pivot, and she's struggling. She keeps coming back for help, but she's, doesn't want to invest in her business. She really wants to pivot, and she's struggling to do it on her own because she's a little bit older. And I'm like, girl, you got to get it together. Let me shake you in the shoulders. Let's do this. Because when economies soften, stores like Anthropologie or Nordstrom or these bigger stores that people that are great, they're cash cows when things are going well, they cut back their open to buy. They're price conscious. So they're going to work with the people who can offer the biggest discount. This is when, trends become really popular, more importantly than personal jewelry, because it's more flash in the pan. And hopefully we don't go back to a place of super fast fashion because it's consumerist and wasteful. However, we could see another trend towards that. I'm not saying that will happen, but I actually think the opposite happens in economies like this. When things start to flatten out or weaken, is that people really like to buy more special things. And I'm going to talk about that later. And this was very true after 2008, because I noticed that when I launched a new company doing personalized private jewelry commissions, my business grew really quickly because people were looking for something special. Note to self. So if you want to add a, commissioned or custom element, as long as your price point is high enough, I would not knock it, because it's a really good business model to have. You can charge more for those pieces, and people love it. They love having something that no one else can do. And then I would also really streamline the in-person events that you're doing. So if you are someone who does shows, more shows isn't always better. I would pick the best shows and just dial in deep on those and really do your pre-marketing before. If you can segment who attends those shows and send out direct mailings and or emails only to those people. A big mistake I see a lot of designers who do a lot of shows, especially people who get overwhelmed by tech and segmentation and stuff like that, is that they send out emails to their entire list because they haven't properly segmented where people are coming in from. And the thing that is challenging about that is they could be sending 3 emails in a week and only segment out the people who are in the area for a show and target hard for that show for that one segment of the list, but while still selling online. Instead, people are just sending an email out to their entire list, for a show in Colorado when one of their customers is in California because they do a show there. And so list segmentation and being able to really segment the audience is important during times like this. But dive deep into the important shows, not all the shows. We had a designer we worked with last year in our SOS coaching program, and her main goal was to reduce the number of shows. And, she wasn't, there were things that she was doing that were fantastic that really helped her online sales. But I remember her saying, it's at the last minute, she'd be struggling because the show that she was at, it was snowing the whole show, and it was an outdoor show, and no one walks a show that's snowing that's outdoors. You know what I mean? And so in Tucson, Arizona, or in Arizona or wherever it was. And so you want to, you don't want to put all your eggs in a basket of weather dependency and all those things when you never know what could happen when things start to soften. So there's lots of things that you can do, but think outside of the box. You can start a really solid, private trunk show, direct to consumer model where you're hosting trunk shows in your home or at locations where you invite your best customers to shop. And I just want you to think outside of the box. So there's a quick exercise you can do here. Think of all the ways that you sell jewelry. Think of the ways that once you identify those, you can actually break down how much money is coming from each of those revenue streams. And if you're working like a smart jeweler or a jewelry designer, like we teach you to, hopefully you're using QuickBooks or Xero and you have your income divided by revenue streams. And you can see where most of the money is coming in. You can dial in on the things that are going well, but also focus on the areas of opportunity, like selling through your website. So much opportunity there. Ask Chelsea Farmer of Horse Feathers Gifts how much opportunity there is there. There is so much. And that girl's crushing it, selling direct to consumer online. And you can too, my friend. And so I just want to remind you of that because this is a really powerful time. So dial in deep on your revenue streams, get clear on where the money's coming from, cut out anything that's kind of a waste of time, and then look for those areas of opportunity that you can really dive deep in to make more sales. So the second piece of recession-proofing your business is to get rid of extra inventory. Inventory is like cash, cold, hard cash. And the biggest mistake I ever made was having a ton of inventory on the shelves. You hear me talk about this all the time. And I thought I had maybe 50,000 in inventory, and I had 150 when Phil, my consultant, asked me. And that was like, that's equivalent to like almost $300,000 or $400,000 worth of product once you have like made goods. And so my objective during this period of time when my business was struggling was to get rid of it. I did an entire blog post on this. I'm going to walk through some of the key highlights. But you can check it out on the blog. I'm going to have the link to that post. It's called 14 Ways to Reduce Your Inventory. That's on our blog. And I'll have a link in the show notes here. But I also did episode 37 on the Thrive by Design podcast with Inta Ivins. She talks about inventory reduction strategies too for independent jewelry brands and quite frankly, any product-based company. So if you have inventory for jewelry is a little bit slightly different in a way because there is a real value because gold and silver and all those things are commodities and you can actually exchange and sell those things for money. You probably can't do that as easily with like fabric. You might be able to resell it, but the perceived value might be slightly different. So there's just different ways that you can approach this inventory reduction strategy. But the first, like one of my favorite ways to get rid of stuff is a sample sale. Get rid of all your old samples. I would even make products for these sample sales of like the old beads in the boxes, and we'd sell things for super cheap. Even if I was selling it for my exact cost or even a little bit below cost, that was better. Like 50 cents on the dollar, as Phil used to say, is better than something collecting dust on a shelf that's like tying up cash. So have a sample sale in person. You can host them all over, like call up your friends in every single town, ask them to host you and do a sample sale for your clients. If you have any press or anything, like speak it up, like any of the celebrities wearing your work, you name it, go for it. You can also host a flash sale on your website and just have it for a limited period of time, maybe 3 days. You can open it up to your VIP customers the day before, and then open it up to your entire list or other people on social media, etc., for 2 days later. You can do this also like sort of a flash sale on a Facebook Live event. There are so many ways to host flash sales and sample sales. So you can also do a flash sale on an established flash sale site. There are so many now, like the ones back in the day were like Guild and Hodlook. There's so many now. So Google around and see if there's like any independent flash sale sites that you can offload extra inventory on. You can also produce limited edition pieces that are exclusive. And I even did an episode about dropping one-of-a-kind limited edition collections with Alex Camacho. It's episode 201. I will link it in the show notes. And it's awesome. You can just go back in the archives on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast and check it out. But she talks about her formula. She's built a great business. When she came to us, she was only doing about like on track to doing like 75,000 that year. She crossed the year doing like over 100,000, like maybe, I think she ended like 104, 110, because even when she reported to us, she had sold more after. So I think she ended that year about 110,000. She just had a $17,000 month. The girl is like crushing it like crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if she hit like 200,000 this year. And she doesn't have employees or anything. She's doing this all herself. And her jewelry, it's not inexpensive, but it's not thousands of dollars. Like she's really doing a great job. So that model's worked really well for her. Drop the one of a kinds and get people buy-in. So you can use up your old inventory to do that. You can post trunk shows at your friends' homes or offices. One thing I did, I had a friend who really loved my jewelry, and I would do jewelry exchange. She would bring a bag of jewelry around to her office, sell it to her friends at the office. And after she hit a certain number, she would get jewelry for free. And so this is a great way to create ambassadors out of your friends, have them sell at their office spaces, host a trunk show with their friends and families, all those things. If you sell wholesale, you can send pick boxes of extra inventory to your wholesale accounts. Maybe if they buy a certain amount, they can get, a piece for free or whatever it is. Or you can assort orders, just call them up and say, hey, I have this extra inventory. I'm offering it at, a lot of times if you just give like a little bit off, it gives them an incentive to buy it. And I'm not a big discounter, but if it's extra stuff and it's old inventory, this is a great way to do it. You can also create prepackaged off. This is sort of like combined. So you can send pick boxes of regular merchandise to your wholesale accounts for immediate delivery. This is with your in-stock, maybe current items. Let me backtrack. But you can also do prepackaged off-price assortments for wholesale clients. And this is what I was talking about sort of before, where you give them like a slightly off-price assortment that's like a little bit less. Maybe it's like your designs, but with like stones that are old or something like that. And give it to them. The terms are like you pay up front with a credit card. And that's a great way for them to get a better value on the jewelry they already know and love and sell already. You can bring your old inventory, to your craft shows or any of the art fairs that you do. I used to love to have like a box of $10 items. They would go like hotcakes. Just another way, or you can do like a buy 3, get 1 free or something like that. It's a great way to get rid of extra stuff. You can also develop off-price collections to sell to off-price stores. This is really more for bigger established brands, because if you're doing less than a couple $100,000 a year, this will not make sense to you, just because you need to probably be selling at volume at that scale. Let's see. You can also find a local liquidator. There are companies that oftentimes will liquidate collections and sell to off-price stores. So that's something to think about. There were a couple back in the day, but just do your research and see if you can find off-price places or consignment stores to sell merchandise. You can offer a gift with purchase on your website, basically like if you buy something and someone gets a free piece of jewelry, and that could be your inventory reduction strategy. One thing that I did is I went through, and any of the materials that I wasn't going to use, I either destashed or I sold the raw materials by either refining the metal or selling the beads to someone else or something like that. If you have things that you can return because it's under a warranty that you overpurchased, try to return them for credit towards future orders. Certain bigger companies would probably do this as long as they're like the lot is not opened or broken. And then you can also get a tax write-off by making donations. I remember a time I did like a jewelry making class for the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. This was probably like 10 or 15 years ago. And we used a bunch of old beads. I donated it to them for their use. And then I got a nice little tax write-off. So those are some ways to reduce your inventory. I have this all fleshed out in a blog post, so you can check it out in the show notes. And as I mentioned before, the cream rises to the top. And the one thing that I notice with designers who struggle, especially when it comes to selling online, is that a lot of times they don't have a collection that's fully developed, or their product's not elevated enough. And what I mean by elevated enough is that there are a lot of jewelry designers out there. I 100% think that there is room for all of us. But when you're viewing product online, it needs to look elegant. It needs to look like it's highly designed, whether your product is, $10 or $10,000. It needs to have a designed quality to it. Can't be shoddily made. It has to be, innovative and all those things. And I really do think this is important. It's going to become more important that you elevate your designs. And here's an example from my own life. When my sales started to weaken in my company, beginning of 2008, I started trying all this stuff that wasn't really me. And I started designing things out of brass because people were wanting a cheaper price point, but that wasn't my zone of genius. And I really got off track, and my sales suffered because of it. And so I want you to think twice about like the materials you're using. Can you charge? Got a request from WJA to mentor a designer, and I was looking at her website, which was so janky. It looked like it had been designed in the 90s. No offense, but it did. It had like this weird wallpaper. It looked like it was a GoDaddy site. The navigation was wonky. It wasn't clean, crisp, and clear. And if you look at the top selling Shopify sites, or even top brands that you shop from, their websites are really clean and modern looking. And your website has to be modern looking if you're trying to sell $1,800 pieces of wire wrap jewelry on your website. I'm sorry, but you have to. And so my thing, this particular designer, her designs were beautiful, but some of them, the perceived value wasn't there because a lot of things she was using really elevated materials, but with sterling silver and charging thousands of dollars. And while I know why she's charging that much because of the labor and everything that goes into it, the perceived value from a consumer perspective might not be there if she's not using gold, if all the pieces are connected with wire wrapping and she's charging. I think it's different to buy a wire wrap necklace that's $300 versus a wire wrap necklace that's $1,800. A totally different story. But the customers who are buying those things, even if they're buying a diamond or sapphire necklace, if it's wire wrapped, like the wraps have to be really good. It has to be like on a Dana Kellen sort of brand level, that it's like high design in those pieces. And so that's something that I want you to really think about. And while it's hard to say to people, I think that anyone can up-level their skills. Like I started my business making pieces in a jewelry making class back in the day, and launched a business selling wire wrap jewelry in the beginning and beaded jewelry, and then elevated eventually into fine jewelry. And now I design engagement rings and wedding bands and heirloom redesign. So it don't matter how you think about yourself and your skill set. Anyone can elevate your skill set, because I can tell you, if I can, anyone can. And it's not necessarily about increasing your price point, but it's getting the perceived value there and your skill set to a place where people can understand why you charge the prices that you charge, or charge enough so that you're making that profitability standpoint. So elevated design is going to become even more important, and up-leveling your skill set during this time. And that includes photography too. And so this is sort of on a side tangent. This wasn't really a bullet, but if you want another thing that needs to happen, and I'm going to group this all in the design piece. If you have a janky website that's built on a platform that is not Shopify, in most cases, you are doing yourself a disservice if you're selling e-commerce. My website, full disclosure, is on WordPress, my jewelry website, but I also don't do any e-commerce. No one can click a button and add something to a cart on my website at this moment. And if I ever launch an e-commerce collection, it will be delivered on Shopify 100%. But there's a lot of other things that I'm doing with my website that I need that WordPress functionality. But the majority of designers who sell jewelry do not need that. Even Jennifer Dawes, who is selling anywhere from 1,500 to 25,000 plus fine jewelry items, is selling on Shopify. And if you're not on that platform, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. They have very clean templates. They have low membership starting points. You can even get a free trial if you head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/Shopify and jump in and test it out. But there's so much. And as your business grows, it's so robust. That's the start. And then the next piece of this, as part of the elevated design piece goes, is you need good photography. You can't take crap photography that's sized the wrong way, that's blurry when you post it online, that's not formatted in the right proportions. Like, do yourself a favor. There is another podcast that I did with Karina Harris about doing a photo shoot on a budget. It's episode 169, and it's with one of our students, Karina Harris. She's been in our community for a long time, and she has some of the best photography I've ever seen. She's a solo business owner. She has a couple of people working for her now, some part-time, I think one full-time, or fuller time, maybe I should say. She does an excellent job at photo shoots. And every time I see her website redone, it's incredible. She's done a great job. So you need great photography if you want to attract people to buy. And if you don't have those things in place, like, you're not going to make sales, and you're not going to make them online for sure. So just saying. Okay. So elevated design all around, not only just products, but website, photography, all the things. The fourth piece of recession-proofing your business is to set some cash away in your business savings. So I did a podcast interview with Mike Michalowicz all about his profit first method. It's episode 161. I did it last summer, or we launched it last summer, right before his new book, Clockwork, was coming out. Both books are excellent. Grab them both. The thing about this is that one of the reasons why a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs are broke is because they're not saving any of their profits. And so with Profit First, it's a pretty robust method, but you want to make sure that you're putting 3 to 5% of your profits away every single month, and that you're automatically saving money for taxes and all the other expenses of your business. Mike talks in depth about the types of accounts, and you can pick up the book where it gets a little bit more in detail, or listen to the book on Audible. And it's a really excellent book. But this is a really important time for you to have cash away, so that later when you need it, you either have money to live on, or you have money to reinvest in your business. So when things are good, put some money away. The fifth part of this is to reduce unnecessary expenses. And what do I mean by unnecessary expenses? I would do occasionally, like every couple of months, we do an audit on all of our expenses. In fact, we're really trying to reduce our tech expenses, because I feel like we're a little bit bloated on the amount of things that we're paying for right now. In fact, I just canceled my paid Planoly account because we didn't really need it. We could do everything that we needed for Planoly because we're not scheduling from the app. We're just like using it to plan the grid, can be done in the free version. So that $10 a month can add up over time. The only exception to this, and I really feel firmly about this, is education and mentorship. So if you're involved in a community or something where you're paying like a recurring monthly investment or something like that, and you're getting business help out of it or like some ROI, then those things you don't want to cut because those are the things in these times that are going to help you scale and continue to evolve that community support piece. So anything that is an unnecessary luxury that doesn't save you time, help you automate a process, teach you something that you didn't know, or give you insight into a problem or you need to get rid of it. So those are a couple of areas that saves you time, that helps you automate something so that your time is freed up. That also has to do with time. That teaches you something that you didn't know or gives you insight into a problem. If it doesn't do one of those things or make you money, I'm going to add that there, then get rid of it. And then the sixth piece of this puzzle is to invest in a consultant or join a coaching program before the shiz hits the fan. And here's what I mean by this. I had been courting Phil, or Phil had been courting me, one of the two, my consultant, back in, I think it started in 2006, right when I moved to New York City. I was involved in a couple of business networking groups. My sister had met this woman, Dawn. Dawn came in and said, I think you should talk to Phil. They came in and gave us an offer. And all I could see was the dollar signs of how much it cost. That's all I was looking at. I didn't think about what the ROI was going to be. Because typically when you need a consultant, that extra money isn't always there. Because if you had all the extra money, you probably don't need, and I'm not saying to put yourself in like financial hardship. I never would say that. But the thing that was like interesting to me is like really a mindset shift is I didn't understand or see how investing back then would have made a huge impact when things started getting really hard. I mean, I see it now because it's hindsight's 2020. So if you want to learn from my lesson, this is the best thing to do. But the one thing that I will say about any investment that you make in a business coach or a mentoring program or in a coaching program or a consultant or anything is that sometimes you're going to see an immediate impact and a change. And other times there is more of a lasting benefit and ROI that comes down the road. And so it's important to stick with it. You know, every time we used to run our mastermind program, there were students who, there's just like people who have this natural ability to make things happen in their business. They were the ones who always like got the quick wins and had massive results up front. But not everyone's like that. It's really dependent on a personality type. I would say I'm sort of like that a little bit more, but I know Robin, I think she'd be okay with me saying this. She has more of a personality type where she needs to let things soak in and meander a little bit before she can take action and move forward. But the thing is that like, whether you're someone like me who's like super fast or someone like Robin who's slightly like more methodical in her thinking or somewhere in between, the lasting benefits of getting consultancy and help is really powerful. And here's the reason why. Is because I would guarantee you that anyone who continued plugging away at their jewelry business, who joined us for one of their high-level programs, has seen a direct result in sales and efficiency in their business and business growth and development, 1 and 2, like 6 months, 1, 2, and 3 years out of the program. Because what they learned in the program that they're in magnified down the road. And so these are things that I think are really important because if you can tighten up your tool belt now and get your skill set really strong and really in charge of your business and your company now, then down the road, you're not going to struggle like others might. And you'll have that impact and the long lasting reward of getting that business help, mentoring, and coaching. And, we see this every day for members who've been in our Diamond Insiders community for years. In the Diamond Insiders, that's our membership community I like to call it a mentorship community. And that's where we have, it's basically community driven, but the community really rises up to help everyone else in there. And we have some head coaches who work in there, Sarah, Nicole, and Dawn, who are working with the students because they've studied our methods. They've implemented it in their business themselves, and they've all got massive results. All their businesses are in a much better place since they started with Flourish and Thrive Academy. And because of the work they were doing on their business, we hired them as coaches to help other designers. And so it really does work. And there's always a lasting benefit to growth and continuing. So it's pretty awesome. And so I just want to say that you got this. And I want you to really take your business by the reins. I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to. And get forward, like be proactive about recession-proofing your business. Set it up for success now so that if and when we see something soften in this economy, that you're going to not feel such a harsh impact, that it will maybe be a light blow, maybe it won't be any blow. Maybe you'll even see an increase in sales because I saw a lot of people in 2008 taking off during that time. It just depends on how you look at it. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up today's episode. And if you'd like help really strengthening your business to recession-proof it and get a leg up on the holidays, I'd like to invite you to train your customers to buy from you online. It's our 12-week intensive that is perfect for people who are really ready to magnify their impact and to connect with those perfect customers who, already know and like your work or don't even know and like your work yet. But to maximize your impact of what you're already doing online so that you can get more sales, get better conversions on your website and through your email newsletters and all the things that you're doing, and just all around make more money. Because at the end of the day, I feel like if you do the math and you listen to some of those like results that I was talking about earlier, Andrea had average 2 sales a month. And then she goes from that to having like 20 within the first month. And then even more than that in the next month, or 13 in the first month, 20 in the next month, and even more than that, hopefully in July. That those lasting rewards of that are going to make a big impact. It's just about doing the work and implementing. So if you want to learn more about that and apply, you can head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/train my customers. Thank you so much for listening today. This is Tracy Matthews signing off. I'm looking forward to supporting you and helping your business flourish and thrive.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It's my mission to help thousands of creative businesses inside and outside the jewelry space use their creativity to make money. Make sure that you're subscribed to Thrive by Design on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are played. And we'd love to hear what you think. Please rate and review the show. And if you're inspired, please share this with your friends. Cheers to seeing you flourish and thrive.